You for taking the time to watch my PowerPoint presentation on seasonal affective disorder. We're going to be going over the symptoms of SAD according to the DSM-5. According to the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, it characterizes SAD as a subtype, meaning that it's considered as a major depressive disorder. According to new research I found online, they're trying to change the acronym SAD to Depressive Disorder with Seasonal Pattern. But quite honestly, I like the acronym for SAD because I think it fits and it's easier to remember. But basically, with the new name, what they're trying to say is that it's identified as a depression that worsens over time, around the same time each year. But for the sake of this presentation, I'm just going to continue referring to it as a disorder as SAD. Of seasonal affective disorder are feelings of sadness, having little or no interest in activities that an individual once enjoyed, a loss of energy or feeling sluggish, which leads to a lot of sleeping during the day or certain times when a person is usually up and around being productive during normal work hours. Something that we need to watch out for around the holidays is overeating, and people experiencing SAD tend to crave carbs and sugary snacks in larger quantities. And as a result of this, the overindulging causes weight gain. Another symptom may also be difficulty concentrating overall, but especially at work or school. People may also feel as though they're hopeless, worthless, and experience feelings of guilt because they're not participating with the things they normally do in their everyday life. When things get really bad, people with SAD tend to have suicidal ideation. More symptoms of SAD. Social withdrawal, it's also another symptom. And this goes back to my last slide about losing interest in activities. People also tend to get mood swings and are not motivated to be at school or work because of the lack of motivation and sluggishness. This then affects performance. Those with seasonal affective disorder have been known to drink more or abuse drugs, such as marijuana or other prescription drugs. Other mental health disorders associated with SAD is anxiety, ADD, ADHD, eating disorders, and even panic disorders. Who develops a seasonal affective disorder? Sometimes this disorder can be hereditary and can run in families, and it's also more common in people with family members who have diagnoses of other mental illnesses such as bipolar or schizophrenia. About 85% of people in areas such as Alaska or New England may be more at risk from developing seasonal affective disorder in comparison to those who live in Florida or other warmer climates. And we'll get more into that later on another slide. So for some reason, women are more at risk than men when it comes to developing SAD. Usually the onset starts around the age of 18, and when I looked up the definition of young adult, different websites said different things, and I was surprised that young adult is considered anywhere between the ages of 18 through 39. So, like I mentioned earlier, people who are already battling with major depressive disorders such as bipolar or have hypomanic episodes, they are more likely to develop seasonal affective disorder. Um, so if you're feeling like your symptoms are possibly getting worse, or you go to the or pause. If you're feeling like your symptoms are getting worse, go to the doctor, get checked up, especially if you know that this runs in your family. At the doctor's office, they'll most likely provide you with a depression questionnaire, and this survey is used as a screener so they can better help you determine the type of care and medication needed. I found this example online, and your doctor will ask you the following 10 questions in the form of a questionnaire. They probably won't necessarily be exactly this, but it's you get the gist. It's kind of all, they're all kind of similar. So the first one is number one, listen, little interest or pleasure in doing things. Number two, feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. Number three, trouble falling or staying asleep or sleeping too much. Number four, feeling tired or having little energy. Number five, poor appetite or overeating. Number six, feeling bad about yourself or that you are a failure or that you have let yourself down or your family down. Trouble concentrating on things such as reading the newspaper or watching television. Number eight, moving or speaking so slowly that other people can have noticed that you're moving slowly or sluggish. Or the opposite, being fidgety and restless, that you've been moving around a lot more than usual. Number nine, thoughts that you would be better off dead or hurting yourself in some type of way. Number 10, if you checked off any of these problems, how difficult have these problems made it for you to do your work, take care of things at home, or get along with other people? If you answer any of these questions stating that you feel this way nearly every day, and it's extremely difficult for you to take care of things at home or get along with people, it's more likely that you or your loved one is experiencing the symptoms of SAD. This slide is talking about what is going on in a person's brain during the winter months. The lack of sunlight causes deficiency of monoamine transmitters, which is responsible for producing dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin. Both serotonin and melatonin work together to help maintain a person's circadian cycle of sleep. But the changes in serotonin and melatonin levels disrupt a person's ability to regulate the day and night cycle. The neurotransmitter serotonin is responsible for sending messages from your brain to the rest of the body to control things such as temperature, sleep, and hunger. And the lack of serotonin is known to play a role in depression, sleep, digestion, anxiety, and other health conditions. And our skin also has the ability to produce serotonin when it absorbs sunlight. The lack of vitamin D adds to the symptoms of SAD, but I'll be talking about that, more of that, in another slide. Also, I learned that in the winter months, the lack of light exposure that enters our eyes changes our brain chemistry. So when we have an inadequate amount of exposure to sunlight, the light that travels through our brain is supposed to trigger the production of melatonin and serotonin. On this slide, I just wanted to include this picture to show you guys the way that the sun hits the earth. Basically, what's happening here is that it's showing you how the sun hits certain parts of the earth differently, providing more sunlight in the areas near the equator, such as Hawaii, Florida, Louisiana, and Texas. So the areas closest to the North and South Pole, like Alaska and Canada, it's cold there because of its geographic location. And for those that live there, they may be experiencing symptoms of depression, but more specifically, seasonal affective disorder. People with SAD don't necessarily start to feel the effects until the middle of winter, but the onset begins around late fall and it goes on throughout winter. And the full effects are really noticeable around December and January, which is kind of inconvenient because it's Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year, and it puts on a lot of pressure for people that have to deal with family and celebrations around this time of the year. Treatment options and suggestions to combat seasonal affective disorder. It's always a good idea to see a doctor and seek out a mental health professional for counseling therapy. A couple of things that I would recommend is cognitive behavioral therapy to help change negative thought patterns and have activities ready, such as journaling and keeping track of your mood, because these things can help improve your ability to cope and manage emotions. It's hard, but one of the things that will really help is getting more sunlight, even if the weather is cold or cloudy. One thing you can do is open the blinds and let the sunlight in, wear bright colored clothes, even if you're indoors. Like stay active by going to the gym because getting physical activity can boost your mood and ease the symptoms of stress and anxiety. Be social. It's hard. I know it's hard to be social when it's cold, but you have to really try hard to schedule time to be with your favorite people. Keep in touch with your circle of friends because this can help you feel more connected and supported by people who care about you. Be healthy. Try to eat a balanced diet with lots of protein and vitamins. This can help provide you with more energy and mood support during the winter months. Also, try to stick to a regular sleep schedule by trying to get into a consistent sleep routine and try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep each night. And I say try because it's hard. Some people that just can't get their brains to shut off and calm down, it's just really difficult to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep uninterrupted. We talked about medications during class and the prescriptions. I have the ones listed here, including the 5 that I have up there, but also I didn't include Wellbutrin XL, Aplenzin, Rexulti, and these are all antidepressants that are prescribed to treat symptoms, and these should be taken before, during, and even after the winter months because a lot of these medications need time to build up within the body to start helping the brain produce the right amount of serotonin. And I'm going to go back to the topic of vitamin D. It's an over-the-counter supplement that's recommended in conjunction with all of these that I've mentioned because the lack of vitamin D has been associated with depression. So exposure to sunlight helps people metabolize vitamin D. So in the winter months when there's less sun, our vitamin D levels go down. So that's why these two things, sunlight and over-the-counter vitamin D, they go hand in hand when trying to combat symptoms. Phototherapy is actually considered one of the first line treatments for seasonal affective disorder. Doctors recommend light therapy to fight negative symptoms, but the only problem is that it's not covered through insurance. So sometimes people will think it's just easier to take medications because it's easier. Light therapy actually mimics natural daylight and can help balance chemicals in the brain, and that can help stabilize mood. I found one online on Amazon because Amazon sells everything. But online I found that the criteria for choosing, sorry about that, for choosing, for choosing a lamp is to find one with cool tones that are very bright with a 10,000 lux, which should be placed at a comfortable distance. The lamp should be angled above the eyes and has a large light area. There are cheaper ones that are available that I found online, but they won't be as effective. But I feel like if you can only afford a smaller light and a cheaper one, I feel like even a smaller light is better than no light at all. It should be done every day upon waking up each morning for about 15 to 30 minutes each time. And it should be done around the same time each day. And the reason for this is so that it helps to reset the body's natural circadian rhythm. And it's not necessary to stare into the light, but just to have it near you at a comfortable distance. So where to get help? So the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, it's formerly known as the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And this provides free and confidential emotional support to people in crisis or emotional distress 24 hours a day for 7 days a week, all throughout the United States. This lifeline is comprised of a national network of over 200 local crisis centers, combining custom local care and resources with national standards and best practices. So one thing to understand about seasonal affective disorder is that it doesn't just happen in the winter, it can also happen during the transition from winter to spring as well. The cold weather turns warm and people go from being tired with no energy, and then all of a sudden they're full of energy, which kind of agitates other people around them, which then in turn agitates people as well. Let's see. So, um, so with children with seasonal affective disorder, it's not too common for children to have seasonal affective disorder, but the symptoms are there. And I feel like I had to add this because we as future school psychologists, we have to be able to recognize this if we happen to have any students that we're working with that are displaying these type of symptoms. The symptoms are the same as adults, so I'm not going to list it again, but as school psychologists, we can provide help to these kids by helping them build strategies to combat the symptoms that they're feeling and letting them know that it's okay. We're just there to be supportive. Um, we're there to provide them with coping skills like art therapy. And if there's anything that I've learned being a school-based therapist, it's children love art therapy, and I feel like they're more able to open up to you when they're doing something and they're busy doing something with their hands. Always have some planned activities, and if we can inform parents that to schedule play dates for their children so that they can have a social period with their friends, it would be a great idea. In addition to that, it's important for children to feel supportive through cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavior therapy. CBT helps with depression, anxiety, trauma. It's great for elementary school age children, and DBT was created for individuals with borderline personality disorder, but it works for people who have difficulties with emotional regulation and mood instability, depression, anxiety, PTSD, eating disorders, and suicidal ideation. So basically, overall, this works great for children. Whether or not we're working with seasonal affective disorder, um, it works for stressful situations, negative emotions. It works on helping children with goals and mindfulness. Children also need to have some type of physical outlet and ways to communicate or express themselves. So again, I'm going back to art therapy. I feel like it's a great choice for educators and parents who are not able to do much, like go outside during the cold winter months. So here's a little recap of the things we had talked about. While there's no actual ways of preventing the symptoms of seasonal affective disorder, we can do things to minimize them. And the first thing we can do is to make sure that we pay attention to the symptoms if it's happening to us or others around us. We need to keep track of it each month by writing things down and writing down emotions and keeping a journal. Also, keep track of the moods, activities, medications, and dosages of the medications that are being prescribed. Keep track of the foods you're eating as well as this helps to get a better idea of your caloric intake. Begin treatments before a season starts and stay in touch with your doctor. Try to follow a sleep schedule, and bottom line is to basically try to make time to do things for yourself. Give yourself time to unwind each day and do things to make yourself happy. Go to the gym, meet your friends, stay in the loop with your friends. And I know it's the hardest part is making time for yourself, but it's really important. So I have here pictures of flowers and the sun and puppies. I feel like those are the things that I would do to make myself feel a little bit better about myself in the cold winter months. And I had a video and I was trying to get it embedded so that it would play, but it wouldn't do it for me. Anyway, here are my sources. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.